Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás, reinventionistas? Sí, yes, es el, oh, it's not verano, it's winter. How do you say winter? ¿Cómo se dice winter en español? Yeah, verano is summer. Sorry, I don't remember, but hey, I'm here in the northern U.S. We got about 8 inches of snow here last night, and I'm dreaming of travel again, hopefully sometime soon, as this vaccine gets rolled out and the world starts to open up, hopefully again this year. And I'm dreaming of a warm place like Playa del Carmen, Mexico. So that's the Spanish on my mind. I don't know. Sorry, a little random here, but I just thought I'd get that out there into the universe, I guess. Maybe that will help manifest it for me. But anyways, so look, hey, I'm excited to bring you this week's episode with Lindsay Hanson. And I have a question for everyone. Is anyone out there going through a quarter-life crisis? Yeah, a quarter-life crisis. What about a midlife crisis? Anybody for a three-quarter-life crisis? Or a late-in-life crisis? Well, I'm sure there's many of you right now that are going through your own little crisis as you go along through life. And Lindsay Hanson is a life coach who's gone through her quarter-life crisis and reinvented herself from being a CPA and now doing what she's doing in the online world. And it's really a great, inspiring story. So I'm super excited for you guys to listen to it. But before we get there, speaking about how, the internet is spinning out there, I noticed that just in the past day or two, as I'm recording this, Bitcoin has crossed $50,000. I guess just briefly, it's back under. I'm looking at the feed right now. It's around $49,000 US dollars per Bitcoin right now. Anyways, it seems to be ramping up this year. A lot of people are talking about it, etc. And I thought, a lot of people keep asking me, how do I buy Bitcoin? I've never bought Bitcoin or any cryptos before. And so I think the easiest go-to, if you haven't gotten into it, is to go to Coinbase. So that's a cryptocurrency exchange. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw my link out onto my Twitter feed, which is at Jimium Group. That's at JIMIUMGROUP on Twitter. So if anybody's interested, you'll know where to go. And it's a link. It's an affiliate link, so I think I get $10 if you sign up through that link. But why not? If you're into it, I really think it's going to be a bigger thing this year. And I think it makes sense, especially if you have some kind of cash laying around, that you don't want to lose the value of your cash if you're just kind of holding, a certain amount of your portfolio in cash. I think that's really what Bitcoin is for. It's a hedge against that. And so the value of Bitcoin should continue increasing. But, don't take it from me. Do your own research. But I just thought I'd put that out there because people are asking me now, my friends, because I like investing, etc. They know that. So anyways, that's what I use. And I think it behooves you to, dig into this and figure out the new financial system that's being developed in the digital world. And perhaps it will help you to avoid maybe your own life crisis that you're going through, or at least lessen the impact of it going forward. And speaking of going forward, let's go forward and listen to Lindsay's episode about how she dealt with her quarter-life crisis. This episode of Jim's Reinvention Revolution is brought to you by MGS Graphics, a graphics production support firm delivering services to ad agencies, graphic designers, brand managers, retailers, and product manufacturers worldwide. MGS Graphics is not only reinventing, they are revolutionizing graphics production support. So how do they do it? Well, they free up your team to focus on big ideas while MGS Graphics handles the execution. Their skilled experts are ready to jump in when your project load spikes so you can avoid the headaches and extra overhead cost of hiring new staff. Plus, you won't lose out on work opportunities because of delivery and production timelines. Did you know their skilled staff of professionals use the best and most widely used graphics software on the market? And when it comes to project management, MGS Graphics provides the highest level of customer service by assigning you a dedicated project manager. And they use the industry-leading project management software to ensure all communication, deadlines, and deliverables are met. This allows teams and clients to collaborate with each other in real time, no matter where you are around the world. Need more than just production? MGS Graphics also has a fully staffed creative team. Ask about their design services and agency partnerships. So, if you're looking for a partner to accelerate and support your business's growth, go to mgsgraphicspro.com/JJRR for 15% off your first project. 15%? That is revolutionary. Go to mgsgraphicspro.com/JJRR. That's mgsgraphicspro.com/JJRR.
Welcome to Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, the show that explores reinvention in the digital age as it relates to career, creativity, and technology. Stay tuned for interviews with professionals, entrepreneurs, and creatives that have reimagined success and are making a pivot. If you'd like to listen to the entire back catalog, visit JimJim'sReinventionRevolution.com for instant access. And now, here's your host, Jim.
Hey everybody, hey, this is Jim. Welcome to episode 79 of Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. And I'm talking today with Lindsay Hanson, and we're talking about what happens when you're going through your quarter life crisis. So Lindsay, welcome to the Reinvention Revolution.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm super excited to talk to you because it's just so inspiring. Like when I stumble upon people like you, like I'm so glad we got connected, in that you know, you are seeing the world in such a different place, and especially from your age and sort of the experience that you've recently had. So my first question for you is, I know it's tax season, okay, and that you must be slammed with CPA clients. Is that true?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Okay. So explain to everybody listening out there what's going on with you, and why did you have a crisis, and what are you doing right now? How did you handle it?
Yeah, so I actually am still technically a CPA,
Okay.
but I'm not doing tax work anymore. So I started my accounting career back in 2017. I went to college for accounting. I actually got my master's in tax, and I started working. In tax, okay. Yeah, I started working at one of the Big Four accounting firms in the summer of 2017. And pretty much from day one knew that I wasn't going to enjoy it.
Okay.
But I think I had this perception.
Well, let me stop you there for a second. So
yeah.
When you say from day one, why did you know from day one? Did something happen in the office, or was there like a...
No. So I remember going to work on my first day.
Okay.
It was raining. It was a gross day. I was taking the train to work. I worked in Boston.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I just felt like I never really connected with all of my peers who were like excited to start our careers. I was like, why are you guys excited? Isn't this like the start of adulthood? Like the start of the end of your fun years, basically? Like I had this perception, I think, that being an adult meant going to a job you hated every day so that you could make money, so that you could, I don't even know what. Like,
that's interesting.
Just
okay.
Repeat the same day of your life for the next 45 years. And even when I majored in accounting, it wasn't like, oh, I love accounting, I'm really interested in this field. It was like, I had no idea what I wanted to do when I was picking a major at 18 years old.
Right.
And I knew I was good at math. And I knew that I'd always have a job, basically, if I went into accounting. It was safe.
Correct, yeah.
So that's how I ended up there. But I never along the way was like, oh, I really like this. This is something I'm going to enjoy doing. I think I just thought that, one, it was normal, because all of the adults in my life, the examples I had growing up, were people who worked in a 9-to-5, who came home from work and complained about their job.
Right.
And it was like I didn't really have any examples in my life of entrepreneurs, or even of people who enjoyed what they were doing for a living. So that's
interesting. Okay. Yeah.
I just thought that was the way it is, right?
No other reference point.
Yeah, and I thought that once I got into it, I would be okay with not enjoying the work I did every day, because I had a really good job. I was being paid well.
Right.
I had really good benefits. It was a stable career path. And I thought that all of that would kind of outweigh the fact that I didn't really enjoy what I was doing. And I think I just thought I would be okay with it. And then once I was actually in it, it only took me about a year to realize I can't do this for the next 40 years of my life, or I will never feel fulfilled. And to me, it wasn't worth the money. It wasn't worth the benefits. It wasn't worth the paycheck coming in every 2 weeks to feel like I wasn't actually living out a purposeful life and making a difference in the world.
Right. Well, I think it's not uncommon, maybe a little uncommon, where day one you start feeling like this. Sometimes it's 3 months or 6 months, or maybe it's 5 years until you kind of wake up and think like, oh, I'm not sure this is right for me. Like when I got into the working world, I was kind of curious about the corporate world. I started working for General Motors, and I was in engineering, so it was more fun and creative for me because I was creating technologies and applications and stuff. But it's within the context of that corporate world, of that corporate grind of, your time is not your own. So it took me maybe a little longer to kind of get to this point in my thought process of like, maybe there's something else out there. But okay, so this is really affecting you. You're in your job. You're like, all right, I'm fed up. This is enough. So what did you do? Did you just kind of quit one day, or were you going to explore other jobs and careers, like in different industries? Like, why did you just kind of dive off the deep end,
Yeah. So it wasn't like I fully just woke up one day and quit. It was a little bit like that. But it was just about a year that I was there when I really that was like what I call my quarter life crisis, was like just a moment that I had one day that I remember after I came home from work one night, and I was just like, I have to do something else. I can't stay here any longer. Right. I feel like I'm just going through the motions of life and I'm not actually enjoying any of it, and I can't do this. Like, I saw my whole life flash before my eyes and it was like, if I stay here, I'm going to be going to this job I hate every day. Because the other thing is that it wasn't just the job I was in. It wasn't just the company. I have nothing against the company I was working for. Right. I knew that even if I got a different job within the accounting field, I wouldn't be happy.
I see. Okay.
So it wasn't like, oh, maybe I'll just find a different accounting job. I knew I would just feel stuck again if I did that. But yeah, I saw my whole life flash before my eyes, and it was like, I get my job, I get married, I buy a house, I have some kids, and then I just go to this job I hate every day for the rest of my life. Like, I can't do that. I have to at least try and see if there's something else out there, I got you. And at the time, I really had a passion for fitness. And I had been on my own fitness journey for a few years, and I was at a point where I was like, making like workout programs for my friends and helping them.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
With their goals. And I felt like that was something that I really wanted to explore, was either personal training or fitness coaching.
Were you an athlete in high school at all?
No. I played soccer for my like town soccer league until I was, I think, 16, but that was pretty much it. Okay,
so you weren't like a super athlete. You kind of got into just that thing later.
Got into, it was one year, I want to say it was 2015, and it was my New Year's resolution. I was one of those, but I actually stuck with it, and I started going to the gym, and I was working with a personal trainer there, and it just really became something that I enjoyed and something that I stuck with. So by 2018, which was when I kind of was having my quarter life crisis, I had already been on my own fitness journey for over 3 years at that point. And I really wanted to help other people. And so fitness coaching was something that I looked into because I felt like this is something I'm passionate about. This is something I could talk about all day. I would love to be able to help other people reach their goals. And I knew it was something that would feel fulfilling for me and feel like, oh, I'm actually making an impact on someone's life instead of just like filling out these tax returns, So I looked up how to get certified as a personal trainer, and I found a certification program that I wanted to go through. And I just started making a plan for how to get out of this job. So the certification program was about 3 months. It was a self-study program, and then I just had to pass an exam, and then I would be able to train people. And my plan A was to start working in a gym. But I knew that ultimately what I wanted to do was coach people online because I wanted the freedom of setting my own schedule. I didn't want to have to be tied down again to somebody else's schedule, somebody else's timeline. But I didn't really think at first that was realistic for me to just start with online coaching. And I saw a lot of other, like, all over Instagram because I was already in this fitness world.
Right.
I knew that it was something that people did. I saw online fitness coaches on my feed all the time. And that's what really inspired me to realize there might be an option where I can not only do work I love, but I also can set my own schedule. Like, I can work from home.
Right.
I can sleep in. I can work from anywhere. I could travel more. And it was just this whole new world that started to feel like more and more of a possibility for me every day.
I see. Okay.
But in the beginning, my plan A was to start working in a gym and build up some clients, get some experience, and then move to online coaching. But what I didn't realize, and what I learned from talking to actually my sister-in-law who works at a gym, is that most gyms don't allow their trainers to have their own clients outside of the gym.
That's right, yeah.
So I wouldn't be able to work in a gym and also build up an online client base.
Right.
And if I were to quit someday and go fully online, I wouldn't be able to take any of my clients with me.
Right. They don't want you to poach their clients.
So I was like, well, that kind of defeats the whole, like, if I were to work in a gym, it would basically just be to get experience, but it wouldn't actually help me with my long-term goal of moving online. So then the idea came into my brain of, what if I just started with no experience as an online coach? And it didn't feel possible at all at first. If I felt insane and it felt like there's no way I could do that. But the more I thought about it, the more it felt possible and the more it felt real. And
so why did it start to feel real? Just because you let the idea stew in your mind? Or I think this is a big hurdle for a lot of people that are trying something new for the first time, for example.
I think the biggest thing for me was the fact that I, on my Instagram feed every day, surrounded myself with people who were already doing it.
Okay.
And so I saw that it was real, right? I don't think if I saw all of these people, if I hadn't seen all those people who were already doing it, I would be like, I don't even think that's a thing. Like, I don't even think anyone's doing that. But when you realize that there are people doing it and that they also started somewhere, it's like, there's got to be a way, you know?
Right.
And yeah, I think the fact that I had already helped, some of my friends, I knew that I had the knowledge, and I was like, do I actually need the in-person experience when I'm not even going to be training people in person? Like, I'm just going to be giving them the exercises to do themselves. So is it actually necessary for me? And yeah, I think overcoming the idea that it's not realistic is just looking at, okay, well, what are all the reasons why I don't think it's realistic? Which for me was like, I don't have any experience. And then digging into that, and it's like, well, do I actually need experience? Right? Is that actually true, or is that just a belief that I have that's holding me back? And it wasn't true, because I started online. I ended up starting my online coaching business. I got 5 clients in my first month, and they saw great results from my coaching. So I didn't actually need the experience. None of them even cared to ask me, do you have experience coaching people in person? Most of them knew I didn't because they were following my journey.
I see, right.
But they didn't care. Like, I didn't actually need that experience. I did need a certification. I felt like I wasn't going to train people without being certified to do so. But like, I didn't actually need in-person experience. So it was something that over time started to feel more like a possibility. And I was planning on quitting my job in like March of 2019. So
Okay.
it was 2018, summer of 2018 when I decided and when I enrolled in that program. And I was like, all right, I have the next few months. I'll study while I'm still working here. I'll pass the exam in December. My exam was scheduled for December 13th. And then I was like, all right, well, maybe I can have a couple months where I am still working here and I can start it as like a side hustle. I can start promoting it and get some clients on the side, save up some more money, and then quit in like March. That was my plan. And then came November, and it was the Sunday after Thanksgiving break.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the fact that I had to wake up and go back to work in the morning.
Uh-oh.
And the thought just ran across my brain. It was like, what if you just quit tomorrow? And my initial reaction was like, no, like absolutely not.
Right.
I got a pit in my stomach. I was like, there's no way I can do that. I don't even have my certification yet. Like, what if I don't pass the exam and then I don't have a job and I also can't train people? Like, that's insane.
Right.
But then there was just something in me that was like, it clicked. And I was like, it's not the only reason I actually wanted to wait until March wasn't because it made sense, wasn't because I wanted to start it as a side hustle, wasn't because I needed to save more money. I already had plenty of money saved. It was because I was scared.
Sure.
And I thought that I would be less scared in March. And it just clicked. And I was like, I'm not going to be any less scared. This is,
I like that.
This pit in my stomach.
Great insight. Yeah.
Is exactly the same
not
pit
going away.
is going to be there, whether I do it tomorrow or whether I do it in March.
Right.
And I was like, there's not actually any reason for me not to do this right now. I knew that I was going to pass my exam. Like, I had been studying, and it was studying.
Right. I mean, you have a CPA, you're going to be able to pass your fitness test.
Right. Okay. Well, and not only that, it's like I'm studying material that I'm actually interested in. So it felt so easy for me to retain all the information.
Certainly,
I'm like, I know I'm going to pass my exam. I will be fine. And I just decided to put in my 2 weeks in the morning. And it's not like I was scared. I was like shaking. I went in the morning and I had to email my manager. I was like, before I can even talk myself out of this, I need to send her an email and ask if we can meet today. So to like make sure I don't back out.
Right.
So that was the first thing I did in
that.
the morning.
What a great story.
And yeah,
there's two things I want to point out there real quick, just for everybody listening out there, because I think these are it's just two great little nuggets of if you're trying to reinvent yourself. One was that you had some space. You had some time to think, like over that long weekend, right? And so, like when you're going through your career, or you're in a stressful place in your life, or whatever, like just shutting down and really giving yourself time to think without doing anything, like making yourself bored, allows these ideas to pop up and allows you to consider, like, yeah, what if I just did this? What's really holding me back? All those kinds of things, right? But then the second insight of, yeah, the fear is never going away until you address it, right? So and there's never the right time to do anything. There's just a time to do it, right?
Yeah.
So,
and with that being said, I don't think everyone should up and quit their job tomorrow. Like, that's not what everyone is going to feel like is the right move for them. There's plenty of people who start a side hustle and quit, after their side hustle can support them full time, or they save up a certain amount of money, or I mean, there's a lot of different ways that people go about quitting their job and starting a business or whatever they want to do. But that was just what felt right for me. And I don't know, it was an intuitive decision. Clearly, it didn't make any logical sense at all.
Right.
So, but I knew that it was the right step for me. And now it's just become such a powerful part of my story that I can so clearly see why it was the right step for me, because I'm able to inspire all these other people. Even if you don't do it in the way that I did, the thing that feels exciting, like when you think of an idea and you're like, I wish I could do that. That feels so exciting. It feels so expansive. Before the fear comes in, like, that's the thing. That's how you know it's the right next step for you, right?
Okay.
If it feels right, before you let the doubt and the fear come in and talk you out of it.
Right. I like that. Really cool. Okay, so you get into the fitness world, right? And you start training some clients. How does that move into the life coaching and things that you're doing now? It's like, how long did you do that for, and what was the next, I guess, trajectory? How did that shift for you?
So I ended up switching to life coaching in September of 2019. So I started fitness coaching. I launched my first program in January. So I was only doing fitness coaching for about 9 months, which was surprising to me. And I think there was a part of me that always knew, like, I was going to be doing something bigger. Like, life coaching kind of, I think in the back of my mind, maybe subconsciously, I knew it was where I was going, but at the time I was passionate about fitness coaching. I didn't really know that life coaching was an actual career. And I also felt like I wanted the experience of building my own business before I helped other people to do that too, right? So about 7, I'd say, months into fitness coaching, I started feeling a little bit less passionate about it, and I couldn't quite figure out why, and it started to feel more like a job to me, which was the whole reason why I quit my job. So it kind of freaked me out at first. I was like, why am I like not excited to get up and do this every day like I used to be? Like, that I just quit my whole job to do this.
Right.
What if it's not the thing that I'm meant? It like freaked me out. But what I realized, and once I was like really got clear on what I actually wanted, it was because I was feeling called to switch into life coaching. And I think part of it was because working with my fitness clients, it always goes deeper than the surface, right? Like, if you are struggling to lose weight or reach your fitness goals, there's usually something deeper there. And that's what I really started to see, is that it goes back to self-confidence, self-worth, and all of these things that are so much deeper. And I felt like that was a way that I could really just impact even more people in an even more powerful way. And it was something that I felt like was the right next step for me. And I knew that I could help people who were feeling stuck where I was in my career, just a year ago at that point. And that's what I felt called to do. It was like the same feeling when I made the decision to quit my job. And it was an intuitive decision. It's kind of hard to explain, but for me, it just feels like the excitement, the expansion, like this is where I'm going, and where I'm at no longer feels like the thing. Like, it's not that I didn't like fitness coaching, or that I think I made a mistake by choosing to do that, but it was just like, okay, it's time to move into the next thing.
I see. Okay.
Is how it felt for me. So yeah, I was doing fitness coaching for just about 9 months, and then I switched into life coaching, which is where I've been for a year and a half now, about.
I gotcha. So let me ask you a question, because I'm sure people are thinking out there, first of all, you're going through this quarter life crisis and you've moved into life coaching. I'm sure people are thinking out there, various experience and ages, like, that's interesting. She's what, maybe 24, 25? like how is she going to coach me through my life? That's one question, first of all. But also, I'm curious about your clients in fitness and the new clients that you have now. Like, what ages are they and what experience levels do they have? I'm kind of curious as to like how you think about this wide dynamic range of people that you could help, and why would people want to come to you in where you're at right now, like at your age, at your frame of reference?
I love that question, because I believe, I'm not 100% certain, I'd have to go back and look. I believe every single client I've had is older than me.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's what I was thinking. So that's interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Not every coach I've worked with. I worked with a business coach when I first started my business, and she was older than me. But since then, all the coaches who I've worked with were either my age or younger than me. So I'm working with a life coach right now who I've been working with for almost a year, and she is, I think, 24. So I'm 26 at this point. I quit my job when I was 24.
Gotcha.
And
why are you working with her? Is she training you, or are you training her, or what's the relationship?
No, she is my coach.
Okay.
So, I mean, coaches,
also have coaches.
All coaches also need coaches. Yeah.
Right, yeah,
like
sure.
just because I'm a life coach doesn't mean I'm like done with my own personal growth. Like I'm 26 years old. Like
Right.
I still need, and I started working with her because of, I mean, I was struggling with things in my business is the main reason why I felt like, okay, maybe I should hire a coach. But I mean, I feel like at this point, I'm always going to have a coach. Like I can't imagine not having, I don't know. It's just part of my life now.
Right.
Like,
Right.
and I feel like it just accelerates your own growth. And for a long time, I would like hire a coach for a couple months and then feel like, oh, I can't afford to keep working with them or something. And it was like on and off. But all the times where I wasn't making money in my business were the times where I didn't have a coach. And I don't think that's a coincidence. But that's just
Very
a side
interesting.
story.
That's a good observation. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think, you know, the idea that you don't have enough experience is just not true. There's always going to be like age. I know this is cliche. Age really is just a number. Like
Right.
it's not really about your age. It's about the experiences that you've had. And I have worked with clients who I think the oldest, not that it's old, but the oldest long-term client who I worked with was 37. And it's like, I was able to coach her through not just this, you know, crisis that she felt like she was having in her job, but a lot of other stuff came up that was around her relationship, her marriage, and a lot of other things that I have never personally experienced. And I was still able to help her through that because coaching isn't really about, like, yes, it's very valuable to have a coach who's gone through what you're going through, of course. But as a coach, it's more about, I know how to ask the right questions to guide you through what you're going through because I don't have the answers. You have the answers.
Right.
You just don't know that you have the answers. So my job is to help you realize that you already know what's right for you. You're just either scared to go after it or you don't think it's possible, or whatever other reason you don't think you're good enough. Whatever the doubt and the fear is that's holding you back, I help you work through that. So it's not really even about how old I am or whether I've gone through the exact experience you're going through. But of course, I you know, attract people who typically are stuck in their quarter life crisis, whether they're having that crisis at 37 or at 24 is just not really the point.
Right, right.
So if you feel like you want to become a coach or do something like coaching and you think that your age is holding you back, I would say to dig into that belief and see where it's coming from and if it's actually true, because it was something that never really crossed my mind just because, again, I was in this space for a long time and I saw all these coaches who were younger than me who had built 6-7 figure businesses and they're like 22 years old. And I'm like, what? Like, why
how is this
would
possible in a way? Right.
Why would I look at her and be like, oh, she can't coach me because she's younger than me? Like, she clearly knows a whole lot about a whole lot that I don't. So.
That's right. Well, okay, so this was the kind of the point I wanted to bring out because I think when I just throughout my career or, you know, different things I've run into, and, you know, this whole internet thing is just a wild explosion of interesting entrepreneurial things that are happening out there. And the reality is, like, you might want to have, you know, maybe 5 or 6 different coaches in different backgrounds, maybe from different countries, of different ages, because, you know, we all see the world in such a different way and approach things in a different way. And, you know, you might be the one person at the right time, the right culture, the right state where you grew up, and the right age, etc. That's like, oh, she has this insight that only she has and that only she can give me. Doesn't matter what my personal age is or where I came from. That's what I need, you know. So I really think that people need to kind of open their minds a little bit about, it is a little bit bizarre when you really see, like, yeah, there's an 18-year-old life coach out there. That seems ridiculous to most people that are older than 18. However, you know, like, the technology is moving so fast, the world is changing so fast, and it's like, you know, they have a different set of life experiences that you still can learn from. So I think it's pretty neat to allow yourself to go into this and to have the confidence, because it's real value that you have to offer. So that's kind of
Yeah.
my, you know, my thought process about all these things. And I've had a few coaches on the show already, and I'll continue to have them on because I think it's just a valuable thing. Like right now, I have like a coach. I have a music coach that I'm working with right now to improve my music stuff because there's no gigs right now, so super valuable to me to keep growing and keep learning. All right, so you know when you're getting into this, now that we kind of figured out like where you come from and why you're doing it and the value that you're offering everybody, I still have a couple questions about sort of the tactics, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's like you get this in your mind. Yes, I want to be, you know, a fitness coach, and then I'm going to move into life coaching. But there's a lot of, you know, technology and business skills that come into play to actually be able to pull it off and execute it and make money at it, right? Make it a career. How did you develop those? So like, you know, because you went into accounting, you spent all this time studying accounting. You know, getting a CPA, I mean, that's hardcore stuff, okay? And that's not developing entrepreneurial business skills. That's developing a subject matter expertise, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
how did you get all this, you know, webby design stuff and how to reach out to clients? And, you know, what are some of the techniques or things you can share with people of how you actually develop those skills?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I did after quitting my job and putting in my 2 weeks was I hired a business coach because I knew that I didn't know how to do any of this. So that was the first thing, and I learned a lot from her. And the thing that really drew me to her specifically was actually that she was talking about how you don't need a website to get started.
Okay.
And you don't need a lot of the things that you typically think you would need, which is completely true. When I started my business and really for the duration of my fitness coaching, I was only using Instagram to market myself. And I didn't have a website until last April, I think was when I made my website.
Okay. Wow.
So it was actually like, I don't know what, 7 or 8 months after I became a life coach. I only created it because that was when I launched my membership and I wanted a place to host my membership. And I was like, all right, well, now feels like the time to have like an actual website and get it together. So you don't need a website. You don't need to be very tech savvy. And I think wherever you start, it's a matter of just starting because you're going to learn as you go. And so the first thing I did, even before I quit my job, before hiring my coach, when I knew, okay, I'm going to want to be an online fitness coach. All right, well, if I'm going to do that, then people need to know that I'm doing that. So I just started posting on Instagram and literally just letting people know, hey, I'm becoming a fitness coach. I'm getting my certification. And I would just share like my daily life, like my workouts, what I was eating, you know, like answering people's questions that they have about fitness or about nutrition, and I started showing up and I started being of service. And it's not something I did intentionally. Like I didn't think of it as marketing or branding, but like that's what I was doing, right?
That's
branding is just like letting people. How would I define branding?
I think it's the experience that they get from you when they interact with you is kind of that's the entirety of your brand. Yeah,
it's like teaching people how to think of you, right? So when people think of me now, it's like, oh, she's the girl who quit her accounting job and became a life coach, right? And when it was fitness, it was like, oh, she can help me with like counting my macros and losing weight because that was kind of the niche that I was in.
Gotcha.
So, but with that being said, I also remember before I hired a coach, you can find any information you need to know on the internet. I promise you, for free.
Certainly,
it's called Google.
That's right.
And I would Google, like, I don't remember what I was Googling, probably how to market myself on Instagram or how to use Instagram to get clients or how to become a coach, how to start a coaching business. I probably Googled how to start a website, but I really didn't feel like I needed one.
Right.
Which was completely true. So it was like, I was just learning. I remember on my train ride to work every day when I was still going to work, I would listen to podcasts about personal development and also about like marketing, about How to Become a Coach about using social media to start a business, right? Like I was consuming all of the content that I could, and I was learning before I even started. But along with that, I also just started posting on Instagram and sharing things that I wanted to share. And by doing that, I was building a brand. I was getting my message out there. I was getting people interested in what I was doing. At the time, I wouldn't have called it branding or marketing, but that's exactly what it was.
Right,
you know?
right. Well, I really think that's a great piece of advice and just a great way to kind of taste it or get this experience of, like, even if you're not sure that you want to do this or you have this in your mind, like, I'd like to start a business, but I'm not sure or whatever, just kind of start doing things and you'll kind of develop those insights along the way. Like you said, like, you don't even need a big website or this big production, big investment to get started. And you'll kind of know when the right time is to take that next step. I think that's pretty cool. So, in looking at your website, now that you have a website, so I was checking it out, stalking you a little bit here. There's one thing I wanted to ask you about was, it looks like you're a partner with Kajabi. Or you use them, as an affiliate, et cetera.
An affiliate, yeah.
Yeah. Can you describe that a little bit? Because I'm not so familiar with Kajabi. I think it's interesting because it sort of looks like it's this all-in-one package if you're going to start a business or try to sell courses or whatever, membership. Explain how that works and what the value of that is, just for people that aren't familiar with Kajabi, because I wasn't.
Yeah, I love Kajabi, and it's the only platform I've ever used. I knew once I wanted to start a website, I knew I was going to be going with Kajabi. And I learned about it from one of the coaches I had worked with. I think that was where she hosted her website, but it was like, it's everything. It's my website. It's where I have my courses. So if you want to create courses, it's a great platform to use. It's where I host my membership site. What else is on there?
Did they also do podcasts as well? I see you have a podcast as well.
Yeah, they don't host my podcast, but I created a page on my website for my podcast. Okay. And for me, like, as a coach, so in the beginning of my business, and this will resonate with any coaches who are listening, probably other people too, but it's like, I was using different platforms for every single part of my business.
Right.
So I had like PayPal or Stripe to process payments. Then I had a separate platform where I would send people like contracts to sign. And then I had my email list hosted on some other platform. And then, because I didn't have a website yet, I would have individual landing pages. Like if I wanted to create a sign up page for my offer or for a free challenge I was doing, I would use a different platform for doing that. And it was just like all over the place.
It gets messy.
12 different things. And then with Kajabi, it's also my email list. So that's the other thing. Like, it's everything. And the landing pages, like the checkout pages are really seamless. You can connect it with Stripe to process payments, and it'll set up recurring payments automatically, so you don't have to worry about sending out invoices. And now my like contract is just a checkbox in my checkout page, so I don't have to like email people their contracts and wait for them to send it back to me.
Right.
It just made everything easier. Everything is automated. I don't have to do anything besides send people the link.
Does it also have a calendar function? Like if you wanted to book appointments, does it do that kind of stuff as well?
Yeah. So you can integrate it with whatever you're using. So I use Calendly for my calendar, and you can embed your Calendly code right on any of your pages if you wanted to do that, for sure.
Okay, that makes sense.
So yeah, well, I can send you my Kajabi affiliate link. It gives people a 14-day free trial. So I can for sure send you that if you want to include it in the show notes or anything.
Yeah, why don't you? I'll try to do that. So I'll have your website there, of course, show notes and those links. Well, that's neat. Yeah, that's really cool. I guess discovery, because I'm kind of in that same boat. It's like I'm just kind of learning this whole space as well, and so I have a separate email list. I have a different WordPress website, all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking like I might want to release some courses or some other things, but what platform do you use? There's Udemy, there's all this stuff that you could use, right?
And I had done courses before on Teachable. That was the only other platform I used for my courses. But with Kajabi, it's just nice because it integrates with your website. You can have the checkout page right in there. And I don't know, because I think I only offered free courses on Teachable, so I don't know what they're like, if they take a percentage of the payments or how that works.
Right.
So I can't speak to that. But what I can say is that Kajabi has made my life 1,000 times easier.
Gotcha. And by the way, people that are familiar with these things, like some of the reason why you start using, I think, some of these other tools is because they have free versions. It doesn't look like there's a free version of Kajabi. Like it's a certain monthly fee.
It is paid,
$100 or something like that. But it sounds like it's totally worth it if you're really
totally worth it. And you can do the free trial to check it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're at a point where you have courses or you are planning to launch a course or a membership or anything like that, then it's totally worth it to me to have the paid platform.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's good. That's good to know. So, we've got a few minutes left on the podcast, but there's always a couple of questions I like to ask as we get towards the end here. And one is about kind of technology in general. So you said like you don't have to be super tech savvy to get started and to, kind of get into this world and to do business online, which I know everyone is feeling this now, through this pandemic, especially because we're all being forced to interact or interface online these days and deal with technologies. But how do you think about it in terms of the value or the challenge to keep learning and discovering it, or how you see it as these tools for business? What do you think about it?
Say that again. So what do I think about technology?
Well, how do you think about approaching technology or integrating it into your, I guess, daily life or business life? Is it a real challenge for you, or do you reject it, or is it seamless because you've grown up more so in this, more of a digital native,
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, for me, I was born in 1994. So I do remember the days where you couldn't be on the internet and the phone at the same time. I remember that.
Right. You remember the dial-up sound of the internet? Like,
I remember like MySpace and AOL Instant Messenger. Like that was what I grew up with, right? So it's not like I grew up like in the current digital age where I would have an iPhone when I'm 5, but technology has really been part of my life. So I think, for my generation and the generation below me, it's something that's very easy for us to integrate because we've already been using it. Like we're already on Instagram. Like I already had Instagram for my personal life. And so it wasn't that much of a challenge for me to start using it for business. And I think people who didn't grow up with it, it might take a little bit longer to get used to it and to learn the platforms. But I think you can let it be as easy or as hard as you let it be, right? You can decide, oh, this is too complicated, I'm never going to figure it out. Or you can be open to it and see which aspects of the platform you like and which ones you don't. You also don't have to be on every single platform. So I would say start with one that feels good to you, that you feel like you could really get into. And like, even if you just start making videos on your Instagram story or posting on Instagram once a week, or if you like LinkedIn, like any of these platforms can work really well for your business if you want them to, and if your audience is on those platforms. So, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn now, but I wasn't as a fitness coach. And I was still getting clients just using Instagram, right? You can use Facebook. I think I've seen it work in so many different ways. There are people who are really good at monetizing Facebook groups. I don't have a Facebook group. Like I've never really used Facebook that much for my business. There are people who are really good at just using Instagram. There are people who just do email marketing and it works really well for them, right? And then there's people who are on TikTok now, which I just recently got into, and it's fun. But I think doing it because you want to and not because you feel like I didn't get on TikTok thinking like, oh, this will be great for my business. I was just doing it for fun. And now, like, I ended up, one of my videos kind of went viral. And so I grew a good amount of followers pretty quickly, which was fun. But it's like, I did it because I wanted to. And I started exploring the platform because I was genuinely interested in it. So I would say find platforms that that you are actually interested in and that you feel like you want to explore, but don't force yourself and don't overwhelm yourself feeling like, oh, I have to be on every single social media platform. Like, I've never been on Twitter. I've never had a Twitter, even for myself personally.
Right.
And it's like, I've never made that. It's never crossed my mind that like, oh, I'm hurting my business because I'm not on Twitter. Like, who cares? I'm doing the things that feel right for me, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great perspective to have, and I think it probably answers a lot of questions that people that are just getting started have in their head. Like, oh my God, I know I had this for myself when I got started moving more into the digital world of like, oh my God, I have to run a Facebook page and I have to be on Twitter and I have to be on Instagram. And I wasn't on, I was just on Facebook maybe, you know, and I wasn't really on all these other things. And I'm like, oh, it just seemed like overwhelming to even try all these things. And I was thinking, I assumed that I needed to do all of them in some capacity in order to be successful. And that's not really the case. And I think you're a great example of that, of like, you know, go where your clients are or your focus are or where your fans are or whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah, or where you want. Because the thing is, if you're doing something that you enjoy, you're going to have more energy to show up there, right? But if you're forcing yourself and spreading yourself too thin on all of these different platforms, then you're not going to be effectively showing up on any of them. And it's better to just be on Instagram and showing up really strongly on there than to be on 10 different platforms and you're barely showing up on any of them because you have no time and you don't actually want to be there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Lindsay, I have one final question for you. So through all this just wild kind of like, you know, journey that you've been on the last few years, can you share a reinvention revelation with people, like something that you discovered about yourself or discovered about business even, that, you know, like that going on this journey really, you know, kind of opened your eyes to or enlightened you in some way?
I would say the biggest revolution for me was realizing that the easiest and most effective way to make money in my business was to be myself and be authentic. And it wasn't about having the right marketing funnels. It's not about knowing exactly what to say on your sales pages. To me, all of those things become natural and they flow effortlessly when I am showing up with the intention of sharing my message and being authentic and sharing my life. And I know we were talking about this, it might have been before we started recording, but authenticity, it's like, I feel like we've spent a lot of time maybe in the last decade where you wanted to hide your life and hide your authentic self. And it was about showing up and putting out this image. And now, because I think we're in a time where, you know, we're growing up with this technology. We grow up on social media now, that people really connect with people and they connect with authenticity. And even if you are getting on social media because you have a business you want to promote, especially if you're a coach, people are not buying your service, they're buying you.
Right.
And that's true even if you have a product. Like, I see accounts that do really well and businesses that are doing really well, especially small businesses that are selling products, because they, as the person, they are showing up on social media and sharing their journey of starting their business. And that's what really resonates with people. And so I think the best thing that you can do is to not hide behind some image of what you think you should be presenting to the world, and not hide behind, you know, your brand logo on your Instagram page, and start showing up, because people are going to connect with you. And especially if you are a coach, if you're a service provider, if you have a client-based business, people, the most effective way to draw in your ideal clients is to be yourself. They're going to connect with your energy. They're going to connect with your message. And to me, that's just been the easiest way to bring in my clients and to bring in clients for my business, was always when I was being myself. And my favorite example is my podcast. So I have a podcast called Quit Your Job, Sis. And
Quit Your Job, Sis. Okay, good.
I started that podcast a little over a year ago now. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was choosing the name, I knew, so I'm the type of person who I will like ruminate for weeks about what to call something. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I can't let myself do that or I will never start this podcast. So I'm going to go with the first name that comes to my mind, and I can change it later, but I'm just going to go with it. Okay. And that was the first thing that came to my mind. It was like, Quit Your Job, Sis. I was like, that sounds pretty on brand for me. Let's go with that. And this podcast has ended up being a really, like, in technical terms, it is a great marketing funnel for my business. A lot of people now find me through my podcast. Right. They really resonate with it. Sure. And then they come into my space. I've gotten clients directly from my podcast who found the podcast and they weren't even following me on any other platforms. Right. And just through my podcast, they applied to work with me. And it's because, number one, you know, I chose a name that resonated with me, and I didn't let myself get into like, oh, but is that going to be a good name for like SEO marketing, right? Turns out it is, because a lot of people search "quit my job" like on Google or in Spotify. That's whenever I ask people how they found the podcast, they're usually like, oh, I was searching "quit my job." Mm-hmm. But that name came to me from such an authentic place of like, this feels like me. Right. And not only that, but on my podcast, I'm very intentional about sharing my message in an authentic way. I don't hold back. Like, I don't have scripts. I just talk and share my message and share parts of my life, share my experiences very authentically. And I think that's why it resonates so strongly with people. Mm-hmm. I talked to someone who applied to work with me once, and she was like, once I saw the name of your podcast, I knew that you were like the coach for me. And I was like, just the name, just the title, that's it. Like, so that's how powerful this can be, right? Like, she applied to work with me the day she found my podcast. And I don't think it's a coincidence that my podcast is something that I never created with the intention of it being like a marketing funnel. The name, the description, the titles of the episodes, it never crosses my mind like, oh, what should I name this so that it's more likely to come across Google if someone's searching for it. It's just like what feels like the right title for this podcast episode, right? And I don't think it's a coincidence that my podcast has become what it is now and has been a really effective tool in my business.
Right. Well, it makes sense, and it sounds like you're approaching it just like you mentioned about all the other social media type channels, right? It's just like, hey, I felt like I wanted to do this. I felt like let's do it, and I'm just going to be real about it. And because of that, people are finding you and they're drawn to you. So really cool. Well, Lindsay, thank you so much for sharing your experience and sharing your journey and sharing, all the things you do with life coaching. If people are interested in reaching out to you and getting connected to you or listening to your podcast, where would people find you? Where should they go?
Yeah, so you can find my podcast on any platform. It's Quit Your Job, Sis. My website is lindsayhanson.com, and I'm on social media. My handle is Lindsay M. Hanson on Instagram.
Okay.
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on TikTok now. Pretty much anywhere.
All right, I might stalk you on TikTok. I want to learn
Lindsay
more about
Hanson,
TikTok.
Yeah.
So.
Go ahead. It's fun. I don't completely know what I'm doing yet, but I'm just having fun with it.
Very cool. All right. Well, Lindsay, thanks again. Thanks so much. I'll catch up with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Okay. Thank you for listening to Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. If you want to hear more, join our mailing list at jimjimsreinventionrevolution.com. See you next time. And remember, the revolution has just begun. So dig in, embrace the process of reinvention, and start realizing the success you've always dreamed of. Hey, revolutionaries, if you enjoyed today's episode and today's guest, let them know by commenting on their Facebook page, finding their Twitter handle or Instagram feed, and letting them know you heard them on Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, and tell them what you got out of the episode, what you really liked, or how they inspired you. I know they would get a kick out of it and will help others find the same value that you found.